All right, ladies and gentlemen. So, thank you for tuning in. Sorry for the technical difficulties there in the beginning. Had to switch out my microphone, so this one's not working right now, so I can move this out of the way. So, thank you all for tuning in this Saturday morning for another episode of Limitless Healing with Dr. Jacques. So, this is going to be episode 3, and we're going to be talking about phase 1 adrenals, do's and don'ts. So we're going to go into this, and before we go into this, I want anybody who's on right now to just go ahead in the comment box, just say where you're watching from and say your favorite thing about the city and your favorite thing you're going to be doing this weekend, and then we'll get started here. So I'll look for those comments to roll in here. Okay, awesome. So for those of you who don't know me, I am a chiropractor by trade, and I am also a functional medicine practitioner. Super passionate about what I'm here to talk about today, which is going to be the adrenals. It's a topic that we've been talking about for the past couple of weeks. Main reason is because I don't think I know a single person right now who is not stressed, especially going through what we're all going through as a nation right now. Whether we're talking about COVID, whether we're talking about the elections or whatever it is, it seems like people's threshold, pardon my French, but your threshold for tolerance for pain and suffering is just going higher and higher, and you're just boiling over, getting angry at people, yelling at people, just a lot more hostility now than what I've seen in the past, which is kind of sad because ultimately I love love, I love happy people, I love everybody being happy, and I want that for everyone. So what we're going to be talking about today is going to be the do's and don'ts for the adrenal glands. So I'm going to slow my roll for a second. I'm going to take a little sip here, and then we're going to get started. So just a recap, for those of you who have not gone back and watched our previous videos, please go back and do so. There's a lot of really valuable information on there. You can tune in on our previous videos on our Facebook page, which is where I'm at right now, or all of these videos get uploaded to YouTube, so you have the ability to be able to watch them on YouTube as well, whatever your leisure is. Okay, I try to make them as short as possible, so I'm just going to jump into it. So what happens when we have a phase 1 of adrenals? So you can write in the comment box, for those of you who have been on this episode or on this channel, write what happens when you have a phase 1 of adrenal exhaustion. What's going on? Okay? I'm going to fill it in as you're throwing it in the comment box here as well. So what's happening when we have phase 1 adrenals is we're in that fight or flight state. Right? Again, we've talked about this before, but this is when we're ready to go into action. We're in a UFC fight, we're in the middle of a football field, we're dodging traffic, playing Frogger. That's when our bodies go into a shift of fight or flight. But then when phase 1 takes in, we have some shifting around of our hormones. So initially, what's going to happen, number 1, our cortisol is going to raise. So cortisol needs to raise because it keeps us alert, it keeps us ready to go. The second thing that's going to happen too, the second thing is going to be, just looking down, second thing is going to be our DHEA is going to rise as well. All right, so DHEA rises initially, and then it's going to drop down, and that's when we have our categorical phase 1 of adrenal exhaustion. That DHEA producing the adrenal glands cannot keep up with our demand because we're under that constant state of stress. We can't get out of it. Now, another thing that's going to happen too is our bodies are going to shift from an anabolic phase to a catabolic. So anabolic means we're building things up. Okay, we think anabolic, we think muscle. When we think catabolic, what are we doing? We're breaking things down because we need to have proper energy source. So that muscle that we worked hard to build in the anabolic phase then gets broken down in the catabolic phase, and we just keep this vicious cycle over and over again. And if we stay in these phases of adrenal exhaustion, we just keep eating ourselves. Really, our body becomes cannibalistic. It starts eating itself because it needs those amino acids to fuel that stress cycle. The other thing that happens is insulin is going to raise. So when insulin goes up, all right, insulin is very important. We talked about this with diabetes. We talked about this with PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome. When that goes up, when insulin goes up, we start to develop insulin resistance because our sensitivity to insulin goes down, which means we require more insulin to be able to handle our glucose in our body. So even if we're eating just a relatively healthy diet and we're still taking in some glucose or some carbohydrates, and our insulin goes up too high and we start becoming resistant, then we start having insulin resistance. It's a very, very, very bad place for people to be. Very inflammatory, not just, again, for those health conditions that we're talking about, but it can further lead to damage to the tissues in the body as well. And then if we don't get it under control, then we're going towards cancer, and that's not something that we want to do. All right. The other thing that happens that a lot of people don't think about too is we actually produce antibodies, which I thought was pretty neat when I was doing some studying on this. So when our body goes into fight or flight, we produce antibodies. Why is that? So usually back in the day when we were trying to hunt and gather, more or less, we're trying to basically go out there, attack our food, eat our food, but there was always a risk for threat. What if we broke an ankle? What if we got cut by a jaggerbush? Okay, I don't know if anybody else says jaggerbush, but from Pittsburgh we do. We got caught on a jaggerbush, we slit our skin open a little bit, and we start, developing a risk for infection. Well, our body already kind of takes care of that. Its innate intelligence does that. It's pretty awesome. So that's another thing that raises. And so if that stays high for a long period of time, when we're breaking down our adrenal glands, what's going to happen is our antibodies are going to basically get worn out. Our immune system is going to get worn out. Okay, so we need to make sure we shift out of that phase 1 as fast as possible, and it's the quickest phase to shift out of because it's the most acute. It's the one that happens first. You don't just wake up one morning and hit phase 3 adrenal exhaustion. It takes time to develop that, okay? So now what happens? What causes this adrenal exhaustion? So I tried to think time and time again, I'm like, how can I categorize this? And I kept going back to what I was basically, thinking about before. So it's going to be our physical stress, our toxic stress, and our emotional stress. So what is physical stress? So we kind of talked about that. That's if we're going to get hit by a car or attacked by a bear, we're in a physical fight. Our spine is out of alignment. We have subluxations. That's what we do as chiropractors. We eliminate subluxations. If we have chronic poor posture where we're hunching forward like that, that's going to cause inflammation. That's going to cause stress to our body. It's going to decrease function out those nerves. So before I dive into those other categories, I cannot harp on this enough how much it's, or how important it is for you to get adjusted. I don't care if you don't have a symptom at all. If you're walking around like this, or you're bent and you have scoliosis, if you don't have a symptom, your body it is impossible for your body to be functioning at 100%. And this is why. So when we think about the spine and nervous system, okay, everything is interconnected. So the brain sends function from the brain down the spinal cord, out the nerves, to every organ, cell, and tissue in your body. That means for your heart to beat, your lungs to breathe, for food to digest in my stomach, those signals have to be coming from above, down, inside, out at 100%. Okay? And there's normal degrees that our spine is supposed to be positioned. If our spine is even 1 degree or 2 degrees away from normal, just something so small and minuscule, it will cause inflammation to the nerve root and immediately decrease function out to that organ, cell, or tissue. So when we're talking about stress, what does that do? That's going to cause stress from above, down, inside, out. Those nerves aren't going to be functioning at 100%, and we're going to be struggling to get signals out to our bodies. So we keep talking about the adrenal glands. If we have damage to the nerves going to the adrenal glands, then our adrenals aren't going to be able to keep up. It's like having a crappy supply, or if we require 12 volts of energy and we're only given 6 volts, it's not going to work. It's not going to be at 100%, not even close. And eventually it's going to burn out, or maybe it may actually catch on fire like we may have did in London with our sound making machine. Anyways, so that's one way that you can have stress in the body. The other thing too is we have different tones. We have our sympathetic nervous system and our parasympathetic nervous system. So how many of you have heard of the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system? Go ahead and write that in the comment box while I take a little sip here and wet my palate. So good. All right, so what happens? So how do I want to word this? All right, let's just keep moving on. So if we have stress in the body, we have our sympathetic and our parasympathetic nervous system. Sympathetic is the fight or flight. Parasympathetic is our rest and digest. So when we're in this chronic stress cycle, it's going to cause your body to pump blood away from those vital organs internally and pump it out to the muscles. So your digestion immediately is going to be impacted. That's why it's so important that when you eat, you don't want to ever eat fast food, not just because it's incredibly toxic for you, but it's fast food. You're trying to eat it as fast as possible in the car while you're moving, and then your body is in fight or flight. You don't have the digestive juices that you need to break down the food. You're never going to be able to get what you need. So it's really cool. There is a nerve called the vagus nerve. It's one of the longest nerves in the body. It goes from top to bottom, And when you get adjusted, you can actually knock yourself out of your sympathetic tone into your parasympathetic and basically allow for your innate intelligence to take over, so that way you can rest and you can recover. That's why some people get really sleepy after they get adjusted. If they've been stressed out of their minds, simple adjustment, boom, makes them go back into rest and digest. They're like, oh my gosh, doc, I was so sleepy after that adjustment. I'm like, awesome, did you sleep? Sometimes they say yes, sometimes they say no, I took a coffee and I woke up. If that happens, listen to your body. Your body is way smarter than you can ever consciously even imagine. So listen to your body when it talks to you, okay? So let's talk about toxic stress next. This is my bread and butter. Toxic stress. What does this mean? So this could be toxic influences from people around you. This could be friends, this could be co-workers, this could be family members, this could be your dog might be a jerk of a dog. These types of things are stresses in your body. Sometimes they're good stress, sometimes they're bad stress. Your body doesn't have the ability to really be able to differentiate between the two. So if it is a stress in your body, it can be just that. It could be toxic, okay? So more often than not, we talk about lifestyle, okay? About 90, 95, I would even venture out to say 100% of disease out there right now is due to poor lifestyle choices. So it's a toxic lifestyle. You're not working out enough, you're working out too much, you're eating terrible foods, you're not eating at all. I mean, there's these terrible balances. You're eating gluten, you're eating dairy, you're eating soy, you're drinking water with fluoride and pesticides and all that stuff in it, and we're building up more and more and more toxins in our toxin bucket. Eventually, we're going to overflow that bucket. It's going to spill out, and that's when we get a symptom. That's also when we say, we haven't done or I haven't done anything differently. I don't know why I'm feeling this way now. Well, you broke the camel's back. That was a straw that broke the camel's back. You need to empty out that bucket and figure out where those influences were coming from and make sure they don't just keep filling up your bucket once you empty it again. It's very important. Okay, we have other things like heavy metals. So this could be, I mean, I have no idea what the hell they're going to put in the COVID vaccine, but there's probably going to be some heavy metals, thimerosal, mercury, and things in there. You can have mercury fillings, you can have aluminum from deodorant, you can have heavy metals throughout everything that you eat and consume on a daily basis. So that's something that can definitely cause neurological damage in the body. It's stress to the body, and it can make more harm and cause our adrenals to also become suffered or suffering. The next thing we're going to have that I keep talking about, and I hate talking about this topic, I truly, truly do, mold. I think in the last 3 weeks, I've had probably about 10 to 15 cases of mold. Not for myself, but for patients. Okay, we're working on some things, and all of a sudden with this heat and the ups and downs, we're rediscovering that there's mold in the house, and mold needs to be remediated, needs to be fixed immediately, and it's such a harsh, toxic exposure that we need to make sure that we understand if we have even the slightest amount of mold in the house, get that crap cleaned up. Don't just bleach it and pray that it goes away. That's like a symptom. You just basically covered up the symptom there, and you're hoping and you're praying that it doesn't come back. It's going to, because the environment is perfect, okay? Mold requires water, it requires moisture. Black mold requires the most. So if you see black mold, that means you have a whole array of other mold in the house. And that's going to cause mycotoxic illness. So we're going to have things go into the body. So we can have digestive issues, we can have headaches, we can have, the constipation, diarrhea, we kind of talked about, brain fog, we can have hormonal problems, we can skip our cycles just altogether. I mean, there's so many things that mold can do, and I keep seeing it time and time again. Even in new build homes, I just talked to a lady, her house I believe is 3 years old, and she had mold all the way through the freaking house. Like, it doesn't matter how old your house is. If they didn't do it right, they trap moisture in there. That moisture needs to go somewhere. It goes into the wood, and then mold's going to grow on it. That's going to be all I talk about for today, because I can do mold for like hours and hours and hours on time. Okay? What else can we have? We can have emotional stress. This is, I would say, toxic and emotional are pretty, I would say, pretty much goes hand in hand, okay? So in the toxic side of things, we can have infections too. I wanted to point this out. This is why we run stool tests on basically every patient that comes in here, because if we have an infection in our gut, it's going to mess up everything in our body. It's going to mess up our adrenal glands, our hormones, our brain function, our insulin. It's gonna literally destroy everything in our body, especially if we have leaky gut. Those infections are going systemic. They're going throughout the body. So it's very important. If you haven't even had a stool test run, please write in the comment box or something and say, please test me, or message me afterwards and we'll get one to you, because this stuff is important. I even just ran one on my 2-year-old son because I wanted to see if there was anything wrong. And I'll take time to go over that on a different week, but it's very important to make sure that you understand infections are nasty. They can be really harmful to the body. So we go into the emotional side of things. So we have emotional stress, we have spiritual stress, spiritual stress, which is where we no longer have that connection to a higher power. You can call it God, I do. Whatever that is, we have to make sure that we know, love, and respect that there is something else out there that is honestly bigger than us. Whether you agree with me or not, honestly, it doesn't matter, because I know that I didn't just come from two rocks banging together and I came about. Because how is it that I cut myself on my forearm and I'm already starting to heal from this? I'm not telling my body to do that. I'm not smashing two rocks together and saying, please build this back up again. I know that my body's innate intelligence, the power within me, is going to heal this stuff. So you have to recognize that there is something like that. And something that's pretty amazing is Megan, my wife, she started doing another Bible study. So we actually started doing this together, and it's basically about self-empowerment. And then also she's doing the Bible study, and she's doing another thing, which is just basically open ourselves up to, again, higher power, higher energy, so that we can vibrate at a higher level. Again, different topic for a different time, but it does make a massive influence. We do it together, and then we share what we write down, because I think it's really important to share with your loved ones where you really want to go in life. And if you don't have a vision of where you want to go, you're going to be stressed out from that, trust me, because you can't get pushed in a direction if you have no idea where that direction is going to go. Otherwise, you're just going to be like a tennis match getting bounced back and forth, okay? So, I got a couple comments here. I'm looking awkwardly here. Okay. Mass at mass. Okay, so Sherry, you talking about going to church and you have to wear a mask? I have had a bunch of patients who have complained about that, and really there's an increase. Just a side note tangent, just because Sherry, I'll blame this on you. There are an increase in respiratory illnesses that are going on. Whether you want to argue with me about the whole mask debate or not, this is a huge stress. I actually brought one in to say this crap right here, which apparently had metal in it, I don't know. This crap right here is massively stressful. If I put this on, I'm very claustrophobic. I almost died in a pull-out cot or bed when I was a kid. When I put this on, I freak out. It feels like somebody just has their mask over my face. I can't breathe. I get worked up, and it's not a fun day for me. So you're telling people to wear this on hours and hours and hours and hours on end. You're not giving them fresh oxygen. What's happening is they're actually recycling toxins in the body. And I'm not just talking about the air. You have infections, you have bacteria in your mouth, you have it in your stomach. Basically anything can come up and out. So if I spit out staph or I spit out strep and it's caught in a whether it's a mask or it's a piece of cloth, you're breathing humidity into that and you're growing it and growing it and growing it. And guess what? You're breathing it back in. So the increase in respiratory illnesses, or people are getting infections, upper respiratory tract infections, due to re-ingestion. I don't even know if I said that right, but basically you're breathing in the toxins that you're supposed to be getting rid of, or the bacteria you're supposed to be getting rid of. So when you're wearing a mask all the time, it's not a good day. It's not just, oh, just wear a mask. It's not causing any harm to anybody else. It is. It's causing harm to you, and you're getting freaking sick, and you're going to the hospital, and you have a higher risk of dying in the hospital than anything else. Third leading cause of death in the world. Anyways, so sorry, Sherry. The emotional side of things too. So emotional, when it comes down to this, we have the spiritual side, we have the perceived side. The perceived side too is going to be, again, our bodies can't really differentiate between what a real threat is and what we perceive as a threat. So say I don't know, or say my son, I'll bring Hoyt into it. Say my son, he sees an animal for the first time. Now he is one of the most gentle people I've ever met in my life. His energy is phenomenal. It's amazing. But say he went up to an animal. We saw a deer yesterday, actually, so we'll talk about that. So you saw a deer, okay, and their perceived stress, I put them into a fight or flight state very quickly, which is probably why my buddy Jeremiah will not take me hunting. We're in the woods, okay, we're walking around, we see a whole family of deer there, which was really awesome. And so Hoyt's looking at these deer, I'm like, oh, this is great, and they're eating grass. I'm like, okay, I'm like, let's just see if I can get a little bit closer. So I start edging up there, I get a little closer, I reach down to the ground, and I grab and I pull a piece of grass out of the ground. As soon as that grass left the soil, The deer, boom, scattered, okay? Megan made fun of me, scared the deer away, and Hoyt's like, where'd deer go? I'm like, oh, that was my fault, buddy. So they perceived me as a threat. I was just going to try to feed them some grass. I thought it was going to be kind of cool. So they perceived it. They can't tell. They have this natural protective mechanism in them that they can't stop. It's their innate ability to be able to move and leave, because if they hear anything in the woods, they automatically assume that they're going to be targeted. Okay, there's going to be a predator in the woods coming after the deer. So same thing. But the emotional stress comes in a lot of different ways too. So this is where we can have growth. All right, I'm going to spend a little bit more time on this actually. So this is where we have tremendous growth. When we have emotional stress will break us down quite rapidly, whether that's a loss of a family member, loss of a dog, something horrible that happened to us when we were a kid. If we don't get through that and we don't grow stronger from that experience, it can harbor stress that maybe we don't even know about. It's flying kind of under the radar. It's subclinical until all of a sudden it turns into something that's massive, and it is having a massive impact on us. And so sometimes we have friends, we have other people in our lives who are incredibly toxic. And it sounds like such a freaking cliche thing to say, but just like when you walk into a room and you see somebody from across the room and you kind of, I don't know if you're in tune like I am, you can kind of feel the energy like I don't know that person, but like I'll give them a shot, but something's not gelling with me and this person. When you have people like that, or you have people who give unsolicited advice, or they're constantly pecking at you time and time again, you gotta cut them out. You have to. It's not selfishness, it's self-preservation. Because if you allow that to continue to get after you time and time again, you're gonna break, okay? I'm seeing a lot of patients now too, and I'll pray for them, and I constantly pray for them. They're doing healthy things. They had toxic weight on before. Then they lose weight and they start looking great. And then people start coming out of the woodwork. They're like, excuse me, I have something to say. You're too skinny. Oh, excuse me, got something to say. You're going to look like that one person who did this incredibly unhealthy. Oh, excuse me. It's so many people that come out of the woodwork, again, whether it's family members or friends, who are telling you that what you're doing isn't good for you, but they don't even know you. They don't know the real you. They don't know what you were going through before. And of course, when you're doing things to make yourself healthy, you're going to lose weight. You're getting rid of toxins. It's just a part of life. Your body doesn't hold that in the fat cells anymore. So that emotional stress needs to be cut at the source. And if they want to come back into your life, they have to know that, listen, I'm doing this because I'm making myself healthy. If you're insecure on your end because you weigh 400 or 500 pounds and you want to tell me that I'm too skinny, why don't you do something with your life? All right? It sounds a little bit harsh, but I have to defend my patients. I have to defend my friends. And that's why I have a really small friend circles, because I only allow people in my life that deserve to be in there. They're great friends. They breathe life into me. If I have a tough day, I can talk to them and they breathe life into me. They don't throw me pity parties. They throw me life vests to pull me out. It doesn't happen often, but it's great to have those people in your life, okay? So it's huge. Now, of those, what can phase ones do to your overall body? It's going to stress typically 3 systems out in the body. The neuroendocrine, all right, so nervous system and the hormonal system, the adrenal glands and the hormonal system, your GI system, okay, getting yourself infections, and then the last thing is going to be your liver or your detox pathways are going to break down too. So I don't usually rush people to detox. I want to make sure I set that foundation first, because if we don't tackle those other 2, detox is not good for you, okay? So let's talk about the main topic of the day, which is your adrenal 1 do's and don'ts. Little sip here. You guys enjoying this here? You getting some good stuff? All right. So the bread and butter. Adrenal 1 don'ts. First off, don't ignore the problem. If you know you're stressed out all the time, you know you have toxic influence, you know you have infections, you know you have all these things, stop freaking ignoring them. Tackle them. Get them done. Phase 1 is the easiest and the quickest to fix. If you let it keep going, it's your fault. It's your fault. Stop, take a second, assess it, and fix it. It's easy. It's so easy. Okay? Other things. Exercise. Again, I preached on this a couple weeks ago. For exercise, guys, if you're in a phase 1, your cortisol is high, you do not want to do things that is going to continue to raise your cortisol or ask more out of your adrenal glands. So let me put a worst case scenario for you. You wake up in the morning, scoop of pre-workout. Maybe, I don't even know what like the hot pre-workout is anymore, but you do something with sucralose in it, a bunch of toxins, red dyes, you're stimulating the crap out of yourself. You take it and you're like, I'm going to go to the gym. Nothing in my body. I'm going to go work out. I'm going to go burn fat. And you go do your CrossFit workout at 5 o'clock in the morning. So you wake up, your cortisol is already high. First thing in the morning without even taking a pre-workout. I should start lower. Okay? It's high. Take the pre-workout, boom. Go and work out again, boom. All right? And then what's going to happen? Boom. You're going to crash. All right? You're going to crash. People are like, oh, you're crashing for the pre-workout. Well, kind of. Your adrenal glands are like, I can't keep up with you, dude. And if you keep doing this time and time and time again, these high intensity workouts where you're breaking down muscle tissue, phase 1, you're already catabolic. You already cannot handle the demands of your body. Don't stress it out. Just don't do it. So what do you, I'll get to the do's in a minute. So you don't want to go into the high intensity workouts, the burst training workouts. You don't want to do CrossFit workouts. You don't want to run a marathon. You don't want to do a Spartan race. You don't want to do anything that's going to cause more stress to your body, okay? It's important. You have to make sure you understand that, okay? Other things that you don't want to do. There's going to be a tough one. I enjoy it, except I did watch an ad this morning. Turn off the news. Stop watching terrible things on television, but turn off the news. Stop listening about the supposed cases in COVID. It's getting freaking old. Nobody's freaking dying from this stuff anymore. Just increased cases. And if you die, sorry, but you were already at a very high risk anyways, and it was going to be the flu that was going to knock you out this year anyways. Not to sound insensitive, but really, guys, we have to start taking care of our health before we lose it. That's the cold hard truth, okay? So stop watching the news. The political side of things, guys, I know it's really difficult to get sucked into the whole pedophile cases and the whole Biden touches kids, and people say Trump is saying this, and then we have riots, and we have looting, and we have people doing such destructive things around the entire country. I mean, it's everywhere. And whether it's happening in real life or it's not, if we're being told, I know there's fake news sources out there, I don't know, I'm just kind of stepping away from it, it's going to cause stress. It's going to. The other thing people do is they'll tune into Instagram, Facebook, and things first thing in the morning, like, what can I compare myself to today? Oh, this fitness model looks great. Oh, I don't look great. Or, oh, thanks, Facebook. 5 years ago, I was in a bodybuilding competition. Now I weigh 20 pounds less. Shut up, Facebook. So it's great to avoid those things. That's one thing you can do. It's super easy. Get those things out of your life. So you don't want to tune into that stuff. You can tune in periodically if you want to. Just figure out what the talking debates are and say, okay, Biden does this, Trump does this, and figure out what you want to do from there. Because the rest is just all fluff. It's chaos, and you don't want that into your life. Right? Don't get into arguments on purpose. Obviously, you don't want to be keyed up and fired up, but usually people start in the morning, Facebook, Instagram, turn on the news, so stress and stress, drink your coffee, more stress and cortisol. You get into your car, which is stressful, okay? Then you get into traffic in Pittsburgh, which we all know is stressful. Then you get to work with coworkers you hate, which is stressful. That's already like, 6 things that you're doing first thing in the morning that's going to cause you to be stressed out. And it was 6 things. I forgot to count my thumb. So stop doing those things, eliminate those, and start putting some good stuff in your life, okay? For me, I know I only have a 7-minute drive to work, but I'll listen to an audiobook or I'll listen to some worship music just because I love that stuff, all right? Also, this is huge. I have my little notes down there. Don't be ungrateful for what you already have, okay? That's huge. So a lot of people will get in this misery state, will kind of be in this like, oh, poor me state because we're not happy with what we have. Why would we be blessed with more if we're not grateful for what we already have? Okay, everything, in my opinion, and everything in life happens for a reason. We have the house we're supposed to have, the cars we're supposed to have, the job we're supposed to have, the wife or husband we're supposed to have. And we need to build upon these things, and we need to be grateful for what we have. If we don't, it's going to lead us into misery, and it's going to lead us into resentment and anger, and we're just going to be constantly upset all the time. You're going to come home, I hate my life. Don't do that, okay? You will fall apart very quickly, and everything will self-destruct. And you're like, how did that happen? You've been miserable for 20 years because you told yourself to be. So please be grateful for what you have, okay? All right, even symptoms, really. So symptoms, be grateful that you have them because your body's giving you a fire alarm. Say, hey, Jock, you might want to take care of yourself right now. I'm falling apart over here. Help me. And if you ignore it or you take a medication is just a permission slip to keep living the same lifestyle that gave you the disease to begin with. So freaking fix it. Stop looking for the quick fix, guys. It doesn't feel good either because you're going to get another medication down the line anyways. All right, phase 1 do's. All right, so do's. So do get tested. At the end of the day, you don't know what phase of adrenal exhaustion you're in until you test it. Test your adrenals, test your stool, see what you have going on, and figure. I mean, we have tons of tests in the office, but I would do my go-tos that I love is food allergy test, food sensitivity test, stool test with the GI map, and we do either a Dutch test, depending on where your hormones are, or a basic adrenal cortisol awakening response rhythm. Test yourself, figure out where you are, figure out what we need to fix, all right? Because you don't know what you don't know. The other thing you want to do, if you are in a phase 1 exercise-wise, do low intensity, okay? I know you can go to the gym, you can stretch, you can do light treadmill work if you want to, just keeping your heart rate kind of low, just moving the blood a little bit. It's good for cardiovascular. Doesn't spike your heart rate up too much. I know Yoga Studio, amazing yoga. I think they turned into B Yoga. They're doing outdoor yoga sessions as well. You can go do yoga. It's hard, but it doesn't really get your heart rate up too high, which is why you feel so good when you do it and afterwards. Just do more of the passive stuff, or like Megan and I have been doing, go for a walk in the woods, go hike, go do something outdoors, breathe in that fresh air. It's really beneficial for you. The other thing you want to do is get adequate rest. When we're in that phase 1, sometimes we don't have the ability to be able to shut down before bed, so we stay up to 11, 12, 1 o'clock at night, hopefully not any later than that, but we want to be in bed by at least 10 o'clock. Aim for like 9:30, 10 o'clock is going to be your maximum window because we want that circadian rhythm to kind of take into effect. We get into that deep sleep, we stay asleep. If your sleep is affected, don't eat 3 hours before you go to bed. Don't watch TV. Get off your phone, or if you are, put it on low energy mode or put it on a warm filter so that way the blue light is not coming and hitting you in the eyes, because that will keep you awake as well, okay? So just some simple things to do, or you can meditate before you go to bed, sit outside if you can tolerate the bugs, depending on where you are. Pittsburgh, for whatever reason, they're terrible right now. Do that. Do eliminate other stress. So eliminate eliminatable stresses. I think I made a word. Webster, put it in there. Eliminatable. So stresses that you actually can eliminate. Cut it. Those friends, family, whatever. Cut it out of your life if it's not allowing you to do good things. If it's bringing you more stress, it's not worth it. Okay? It doesn't matter who they are or how long you've known the person. Okay? Cut out inflammatory foods. Inflammatory foods cause inflammation. Inflammation is going to cause stress. Stress is going to cause your adrenal glands to be affected. So cut out corn, dairy, soy, eggs, okay? Cut those guys out. Gluten, all of that stuff. Cut it out. Cut it out. Even if you haven't tested, just freaking cut it out. It's inflammatory. You don't need to be told why. It's horrible. Try it for a month and tell me you don't feel great, okay? Cut out harmful influences. Write a gratitude journal. It's pretty cool, right? So how else can you be grateful? Write it down. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for my wife. I'm grateful for my son. I'm grateful for my daughter who's going to be coming in a couple months. You can think of things throughout the day where you're just in misery and just say, hold on, I need 10 seconds to write down 10 things that I'm grateful for. Boom, 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 boom. Put it on your phone if you need to. Put your notepads up. Be like, oh my gosh, I forgot. I wrote this morning. I'm so grateful for these things. The heck with this coworker. I got this. This is great. So it's just this handy tool that you can use. It's free for you to write down your thoughts and your words. People don't write anymore. We just text, which I figured that out yesterday. I was writing down all my stuff with my wife, Megan, and I started getting sore forearms. I know I just did forearms yesterday, but I was a little bit embarrassed by that, okay? So pray. Get your spiritual life back on track. It's one of the things that I do before bed with Hoyt every single night. And I got to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, I know my son is cute. I'm biased as heck, but he prays with me. And we have this thing when he says amen, he gets tickled. So halfway through a prayer, sometimes he'll just say amen and just start giggling the whole way through because I just get him on the side and he goes ballistic. Anyways, I just think that's cute. But either way, he prays with me. And again, I think it's great to get into that routine if you have kids. Teach them to pray, spend that time with them, get them into gratitude too. And not just I wish this, say thank you for. I say thank you for mama, thank you for daddy, thank you for baby Sage, thank you for... And we're grateful the whole way through our prayers. And in the end, we do kind of a wrap-up of what we're grateful for and what we may need help and assistance with. It's great. It's phenomenal. He doesn't do all the talking I typically do, if you can't tell. But yeah, read books, all right? So read inspirational books. If you find that you're having a struggle in a certain category, go get a book in that category. Somebody's probably an expert in something that you're suffering with. Just grab one. Read it, okay? This is great that if you're eliminating toxins out of your body, You're eliminating infections out of your body. You're eliminating terrible people in your life. Read this stuff too. It's like icing on the cake. It makes it so much easier. If you don't like to read, get an Audible, get an audiobook, and listen to that while you drive. Okay, so that way you're not angry in traffic. You're like, awesome, I get another 10 minutes of this audiobook. This is great. I've done that quite often when I go to Ohio to adjust. I have audiobooks going. If I get stuck in traffic, I don't get mad. I'm like, all right, let's see what Ben Greenfield has to say today, or whatever it may be. Okay. All right, and the other thing too is, again, I'm going from do get tested to do work with a functional medicine practitioner. So if you feel that you're out of control, that you're not able to be healthy, you haven't had answers, trust me, a functional medicine doc is going to be your go-to. I don't care if you come to me or not. I mean, obviously, I'm a little bit arrogant in that I know what I do works. I've had a lot of experience, but even if you don't reach out to me, please just reach out to somebody. Start asking questions, because a functional medicine doctor, what we do that's very unique and different is we're not treating the symptom. That's why if somebody comes in for cancer, okay? I had a patient asking about skin cancer, and I said, let's test your stool, okay? Why? Because if you have an infection in the gut, it can push out into the skin, all right? There's going to be different ways that you can address things. I'm not just going to say put some sort of salve on the spot and it'll go away, because that's great. But if the surface is still toxic, it's just going to make more of what was there to begin with. It's like weed whacking weeds, and we don't get it down to the roots. The weeds are just going to grow. The soil's perfect for weeds to grow. Change the soil, and you don't have weeds anymore. Okay, so we do that. We look and we retest and evaluate tests very, very differently as well. I also had a friend of mine who sent some blood work in to me yesterday. He sent a stool test in, and I saw the comments for what the doctor wanted to do. I thought the doctor was an absolute moron. Ran a test that I run, and then completely ignored what showed up on the freaking test. He had 2 nasty infections, and his liver is under attack. It's like, it's right there. Just look up the bacteria. Look up the H. pylori. It's right there. It's right there for you. So, sorry. Work with a functional medicine practitioner, and it will make it easy. It will make it enjoyable. The reason that I found that most people don't work with functional medicine practitioners is that they actually have to put in the work. All right? Things don't come easily. If you have to put in work, it makes it all the sweeter when you get the results, because you are the ones who got the results. Me, I'm like a functional medicine health coach. I give you advice, I coach you along the way, but you're the one who wakes up in the morning and takes the supplements. You're the one who controls what you put in your mouth. I'm just here as guidance to help you along the way, okay? So work with somebody. Be sure to get tested and work with somebody so that way you can get the answers that you're looking for. And again, as usual, at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want with these adrenals. Truly you can. But if you feel that you're in a phase 1, you feel like you're stressed out all the time, you can't keep up with the demands, and you're just breaking down time and time again, your sleep's bad, your hormones are bad, you're popping pills, you're pain pills, trying to take medication, you're drinking NyQuil before you go to sleep, especially if you're younger, please, 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 please nip this in the butt now. Don't wait until you're 50, 60, 70, 80 years old and come in and be like, can you help me? I've got some problems. I expect results in a month. Guys, fix it now, okay? Fix it now. You have the ability to. I'm educating you to be able to fix it now. Implement these things. Please, please, please do. And ultimately, if you guys have not, or girls, have not been tested, feel free to reach out to me. Okay, reach out immediately, direct message me on Facebook here, and I will personally reach out to you and see if you have something that I can help you with or not. Another resource that I've put on my website, the Dr. Jock Moser website, is that you have the ability to be able to go to my website, a little pop-up box will pop up real quick, and you can schedule a free 15-minute health evaluation to talk to me. See if you have a condition I can help you with or not. I just had a patient do it just the other day, and we tell you what tests you might want to run. And we sit down, we put a plan together. It's pretty easy. There's literally nothing to lose to sit down and talk with me if you have a problem. So that is what I'm trying to urge for you to do today. Next week, we're going to be talking about phase 2, and then the following week, we're going to be talking about phase 3. Then we're going to kind of shift topics around. So that being said, as a summary recap, if we're stressed, don't do anything else, or don't allow anything else in your life that's going to stress you out. Eliminate it, okay? Work on prayer life, work on meditation if you can. There's guided meditation apps that you can use. I'm not the best at meditating. Shutting this brain down is very difficult for me to do. So work on that stuff, okay? Try to relax. Try to cut the caffeine out. Try to cut the pre-workout out. You need to try to do these things, otherwise you're going to overstimulate your body. When it comes to workouts, go to low intensity, go to yoga classes. It's not unmanly to do these things. The most common reason why guys don't go and do yoga is because it's too freaking hard. I'm terrible at yoga, but it's so good for you. And I still do it, but it's hard. So do yoga, okay? Go for walks, go enjoy life, and try to start to be grateful, try to start to be peaceful. And if you are married or you do have a spouse, start pouring love into one another. Have it tossed back and forth, so that way you're filling up your gratitude every single day, so that way you're a peaceful person. So that being said, I'm going to peace out this morning. I know my wife is waiting for me. So I love you guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Next week is going to be phase 2 of adrenals. We talked a little bit longer today, so hopefully I don't go over next week. So thanks for tuning in, everyone.